Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here to bring the 10-game NBA main slate on Friday. Before I get into the video, because you're new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos and live stream for NBA and NFL slates on Draftkings. I'm now making videos for NBA Top Shot as well. If you're unable to watch his YouTube videos, they're also up on Apple Podcasts. I'll link down below. It's called the DKDFS Show. If you're interested in signing up for premium content, I'll offer that on Patreon.com. An esports package, which includes Call of Duty and CSGO. CSGO, we have slates every single day. Call of Duty, usually 3 or 4 times a week. And then a package for NBA as well. And finally, I want to thank PrizePicks for sponsoring this show. If you guys this is your first time watching these videos, you're not familiar with PrizePicks. The idea is you're taking over, under, and fantasy points. Right now, they have 8 players up, but a lot more will be posted throughout the day tomorrow. And again, it's just like, do you feel really strong about taking over, under? You're not playing against anyone either. You're playing against the house, and you can mix and match sports. They have college basketball, they have esports, PGA. So if you guys want to sign up, you can just go DKDFS. DKDFS, all one word, link down below. You will get 100% match up to $100. So if you put $100 in, you get $200 to play with. And finally, before we get into the video, I just want to thank you guys for the continued support on the daily fantasy videos, as well as the Top Shot videos, the live streams as well. If you do enjoy this content, if you leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos you don't know live. I will be doing a YouTube live stream tomorrow before lock, so make sure to check it out. And let's aim for 150 likes on this video, guys. But all right, let's jump into it. So before we talk about players and the prices of this 10-game slate, we can look back lineup here from Thursday. So Thursday, this is my final lineup. Donovan Mitchell, Joe Ingles, Jordan Clarkson, Joe Ingles, Zion Williamson, Alex Len, Jason Randall, Alec Burks, and Karl Anthony Towns. So was really high on the Utah Jazz going up against Washington. And at first half, I was sweating. I was like, they scored, like 43 points? They looked terrible. But Donovan Mitchell woke up from the dead and got 60 fancy points at low ownership. That was pretty big. Jordan Clarkson was a chalk bust, 63% owned. Not only 19 fantasy points. I mean, the risk with Jordan Clarkson is he is a little bit more scoring dependent, and he just was not hitting shots, so that's why he kind of had a floor game. Joe Ingles, on the other hand, was fantastic, 51 fantasy points. You absolutely needed him. Zion Williamson, only 18% owned, currently has 20 fantasy points midway through the second quarter, looking pretty decent. I used Alex Len to get a little bit contrarian. He actually did not come back in the fourth, so I was a little bit mad because he had a really nice third quarter, and I was figuring, oh man, if he gets his normal shift in the fourth, he might go for 25 plus. Now I was debating Chase on Randall, Ntilikina. It was basically a coin flip. I ended up going with Randall because there's no Terrence Ross. I figured he has a chance maybe to play a couple more minutes. It was actually Ntilikina that you wanted. I think he got over 20 fantasy points, but he started like 1 at halftime. And then Alec Burks, I mentioned that multiple times, him being my favorite value play in the Knicks. And then he used Karl Anthony Towns to get a little bit contrarian. I figured he'd be a little bit lower owned, 15% owned. So we'll see how it goes. I know Clarkson was a bust, but he was the chalk in this high dollar. So if Zion and Karl Anthony Towns can keep up this pace, I think I can get in the cash. But yeah, that's really it for the look back, guys. Hope you had a good night, and let's see if we can make some money for this 10-game slate. So we have 6 games out right now. Kings, Celtics, 235 over under. Celtics 7-point favorites. Pacers and Heat at 215.5 over under. The Heat are 4.5-point favorites. Jazz, Raptors 229.5 over under. Jazz 5-point favorites. Bulls, Nuggets 228.5 over under. Nuggets 7-point favorites. T-Wolves, Suns again 231 over under. They're basically playing it back to back. Suns 11-point favorites, and Mavs, Blazers, I should say, 234 over under. The Mavs are 3-point favorites. So let's start off with Sacramento and Boston. Sacramento again. They're just running a really, really tight rotation. So De'Aaron Fox at this price, I think, will go a little bit overlooked. It's not necessarily the best matchup, but he'll play 35 to 40 minutes, and I like him as a contrarian play. Rashawn Holmes, I still like. If you faded him last slate, you got very, very lucky. He was on pace for 35 plus minutes and was on pace to absolutely smash and got in foul trouble. That is the only risk not the only, but that is the concern there with Rashawn Holmes is foul trouble. If he stays out of foul trouble, he should play about 35 minutes, even with Whiteside back. So I think Rashawn Holmes will go overlooked in the slate, but do kind of like him as a contrarian play as well. Barnes healed, more secondary options for me. With no Marvin Bagley, Tyrese Halliburton started and was on a minutes limit, even though he played 32 minutes. I'm guessing there's no more minutes limit for him this game. We'll see. If there's not and he starts again, I think he's a pretty decent play at that price. And then, Whiteside got extended a little bit because of the Rashawn Holmes foul trouble. I think normally he only plays about 15 minutes. He is a good point per minute guy, so I'd say more of a just GPP play. And then Bjelica, Corey Joseph, no thank you. On the Boston side, so it is a really good matchup. Tatum, Brown, Kemba at the top, I think all look pretty decent. I think if I had to pick between Tatum and Brown, it would be Tatum. He's the guy that has the most upside in my opinion and should play 35 plus minutes. So do have some interest in Tatum at the top if you want to stack this game up. No Tristan Thompson again, so Robert Williams, 6K, almost 5.8 feels like a lot, but he has been getting it done. And again, he's a great point per minute guy. Again, there's been a guy that's been blocking a ton of shots. I kind of like him for GPPs. Does seem a little bit overpriced, but he continues to get there. Marcus Smart at 5.3K. I think this is more of a secondary option. You know, I like him when like he starts at the point guard position, but with Kemba in, I'm not really sure I want to go there. Oh boy, Daniel Tice. We'll see. If he starts again, I think he's an interesting contrarian value play because he burned a lot of people, including myself. No one's going to want to go back there, but hey, he's still a guy that can go for 30 plus, right? We've seen it 2 of the last 3 games that he played. 28 minutes, 33 fantasy points, 26 minutes, 39 fantasy points. So if he starts again, I would have some interest in him. But yeah, they're always, I'm still a little bit tilted about that last slate. Moving on to San Antonio and Cleveland. On the San Antonio side, I do kind of like DeJounte Murray at 7.3. He played 40 minutes that last game. So he's just playing massive minutes with no DeRozan. I think he's a nice play at the top at that price, and a guy can stuff a stat sheet. Jakob Poeltl, back-to-back pretty solid games. 34 minutes the last game is good to see. If he's going to play over 30 minutes, and this price point does seem a little bit too cheap. Derek White finally stayed out of foul trouble, actually, and got more than 30 minutes, played 33 minutes. If the plan is to play Derek White like close to 35 minutes, then I think this price point at 5.5 is a little bit too cheap. Keldon Johnson also played over 30 minutes. He got a little bit banged up but returned. Again, if the plan is to play Keldon and Derek White like close to 35 minutes, then I do have some interest in them. I will say, though, it's just always an uneasy feeling because it's Popovich, and then no one really else I like on the Spurs. Moving on to the Cavs. Not a ton at the top. Sexton, Jared Allen seem priced about right. Garland, no thank you. Larry Nance had a big game last game. I like that he's small forward eligible. It seems like they're just going to play him huge minutes now. So 38, 37 minutes. I wouldn't expect, 40 fancy points again, but he is a guy that can stuff a stat sheet. And if he's going to play close to 40 minutes, then I agree. This price is a little bit too cheap. I wasn't convinced he was going to get those minutes again. He did. So looking like Larry Nance is going to play 35 plus minutes. I do have some interest in him in the mid-range. And that's probably, again, McGee is always a dart throw in tournaments. He's a good point per minute guy. Utah, Toronto. I expect Mike Conley to come back because he just sat out for injury management purposes. So with Mike Conley most likely coming back, there's not much here. If Conley's out, then it's the same thing as the slate today. Mitchell at the top, Clarkson, Ingles in the mid-range. Wouldn't be as good of plays though because Toronto, even though haven't been like amazing defense, they're a little bit better than Washington. On the Toronto side, really, there's not much here. They're basically fully healthy. Some of the secondary guys kind of priced up from when a lot of these guys are out. So I'm probably going to fully fade Toronto. Moving on to the Pacers and the Heat. On the Pacers side, honestly, not much I like here. Miami, pretty solid defensively. Sabonis seems to us about right. Same thing with Brogdon and LeVert. No thank you to Miles Turner. Honestly, another team I'll probably not get to anyone. On the Miami side, it's basically the same thing. I have very little interest in this game. Jimmy Butler, if I had to pick, would be the guy. But yeah, Bam, priced about right. Olynyk, a little overpriced. Dragic, Hero, none. Yeah, just no real interest in the Miami side. Moving on to Detroit and Houston. So Jeremy Grant for GPPs, I think is a pretty good play. He's been a little bit up and down. And a guy that, it's weird because some games he'll stuff a stat sheet and some games he'll be really score independent. I like the spot here against Houston, and Detroit is still pretty shorthanded, so I do have some interest in Grant there for tournaments. DeLon Wright is intriguing here. Played 38 minutes, went for 45 fantasy points. We're not going to get 45 again, but if their plan is to play DeLon Wright 35 minutes, then I think he is viable at that price. So Mason Plumlee, I like playing Plumlee because he's a guy that can stuff the stat sheet, but right now, he doesn't seem like he's going to play more than 25 to 30 minutes, which makes him, still viable. But I don't think there's real minutes upside unless something happens to Isaiah Stewart. Josh Jackson at 5.3. Should play mid-20s minutes as a fair play at his price. Sadiq Bey had the big game last game. Kind of feels like chasing, to be honest. He's been a little bit up and down. So I'm not saying he's out of play, but again, it feels like chasing a little bit. Isaiah Stewart, again, defined role, 20 to 25 minutes on the bench. Decent point per minute guy. I think he's a safe value play. Dennis Smith Jr. at 4.8. Played, 22 minutes on the bench. Don't have a ton of interest there. They did with no Wayne Ellington, no Rodney McGruder. They started Frank Jackson actually at the 2, and he played 31 minutes. If Frank Jackson starts again, sure, I have some interest in him. He's a point guard, but he's kind of playing, the shooting guard role, so not really playing his true position. But, yeah, if he starts again and close to min price and a good matchup, yeah, I have a little bit of interest in him. Moving on to Houston. So Christian Wood at 8.5K. Keep an eye on this. I assume they're going to limit his minutes again. He still had a really good game in 26 minutes for 35 fantasy points. But if he's going to continue to be on a minutes limit, then I'll probably pass this price. Now, if there's no minutes limit and we get 32 to 35 minutes, then I do like Christian Wood. It's a revenge game narrative here too, if you guys are interested in that. So keep an eye on Wood and whether or not he's on a minutes limit. Victor Oladipo at 8.3K. I think it is a solid play, not a priority. Keep an eye on John Wall, too. John Wall currently questionable. If John Wall plays, then I'm off Kevin Porter Jr. If John Wall misses, I think we can still get to KPJ. Wouldn't be as good of a play, though, with Victor Oladipo there and obviously Christian Wood. But still, Kevin Porter Jr. has been playing phenomenal for the Houston Rockets. So do like him if there's no John Wall. Other than that, though, with Oladipo healthy, with Christian Wood now back, the value I'm probably going to stay away from. And moving on to Brooklyn and Orlando. So Harden at the top at 11K, I think is a pretty decent spend up. Going to play about 40 minutes, went for 83 fantasy points last game. Now, we're not going to get 80 again with Kyrie there, but I still think he's a pretty good play at the top. And then Kyrie at 9.3K. I'm fine getting to either Brooklyn guard here because we know where the offense is coming from. I don't think either is a priority on this slate, but I'm fine with either. And then value, no thank you. No thank you on Harris or Brown or anyone else. Well, I will mention Nick Claxton because he did play 23 minutes off the bench last game, and he's been, again, a good point per minute guy. If there's a chance that he plays over 20 minutes again, then I could see taking a shot on Nick Claxton. Again, DeAndre Jordan lost some minutes. They went to Claxton and closed with him, so probably no thank you on Jordan. You can take a shot on Claxton, though, and hope he gets extended a bit. Moving on to the Orlando Magic. It is a really good matchup. I do have some interest in Vooch at the top. I think he's a nice contrarian play that goes a little bit overlooked. 1 for 50 fantasy points against the Knicks in a tougher matchup. So do kind of like Vooch as a contrarian play. Aaron Gordon, how many minutes did he play tonight? Did play 31. Keep an eye on this. It's a back-to-back. He's been injured a lot this season. If there's no minutes left for Aaron Gordon, then I actually do kind of like him in the mid-range. Fournier, no thank you. Again, Chason Randall started at point guard, played 30 minutes. He's a very, very low usage guy. If he starts again, then yeah, I think he's an okay punt play. But don't expect a big game from him. Again, very, very low usage on the offense side. Moving on to Golden State and Memphis. So this is a team we can definitely get some value from the Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry, doubtful. Kelly Oubre, doubtful. Let's start with Draymond Green. Absolutely love him at this price. Got him at low ownership there against Houston. Went for 51 fantasy points. He'll have the ball in his hands, maybe even more if no Steph Curry. So really, really like Draymond at the top. Andrew Wiggins, you guys know I don't play him. I took a shot at him the game before the All-Star break with no Draymond, no Oubre, no Steph, and he's still busted. So no, I'm not playing Andrew Wiggins. Value-wise, I'm guessing it's going to be Nico Mannion that starts at point guard, because he's been playing over Brad Wanamaker in the rotation. If Nico Mannion starts at the point, I think he's one of the best value plays of the slate. I would assume we probably get close to 30 minutes. So yeah, would really like Nico Mannion if he does start. And then with no Kelly Oubre, my guess is Bazemore starts. We'll see. Bazemore is actually a pretty solid point per minute guy. Just Steve Kerr's not really been giving him minutes lately. If Bazemore starts, he becomes a really good value play. Now, I will mention Jordan Poole has been shooting the ball really, really well. If maybe they start him, I would have some interest there. But the only concern is, again, no perfils, right? He's not going to do much of the assist, the rebound, the ball. So basically, he's got to put the ball in the bucket. And then there is no James Wiseman. So a guy like, where is he? Kevon Looney at 3.2K. Played 23 minutes the last game. He's probably, Memphis is a bigger team, right? Jonas Valanciunas. So I could see Looney playing over 20. I think he's a viable punt play. Toscano Anderson at 3-2. I guess he only played 14 minutes with no Pascal and no Wiseman, so I don't have a ton of interest there. But really, yeah, there's definitely some interesting plays here for Golden State. Depending on what they do with the starting lineup, I think if there's no Steph and no Oubre, look to whoever starts, really. So, whoever starts the point guard, whoever starts the 3 or 4, that's really where I want to look to for value. Plus Draymond in the mid-range. And then, again, Looney, I think, is a pretty good value play as well. So Golden State's actually a team I like a lot on this slate. Let's move on to Memphis. John Morant, Jonas Valanciunas, their respective prices, I think, are both decent plays. I don't know if either are going to be super popular. I think Golden State will be a popular team to target. So you want to bring back, I think you can go to Ja or Jonas Valanciunas. Moving down a bit more, not a ton else I like. If I had to take a shot on someone in the mid-range, it would be actually DeAnthony Melton. He went for 40 fantasy points in 23 minutes. He's a guy that, sure, is a little bit up and down, but the upside is there with him, right? And he's an aggressive player in the offensive end. So if I'm going to take a shot on one of the secondary plays for Memphis, it's going to be DeAnthony Melton. Let's move on to Chicago and Denver. So Chicago, Zach LaVine, as they can train, spend up, I think looks pretty interesting. I think he goes a little bit overlooked. 50-plus fantasy points in back-to-back games. Thad Young's been starting at the center position. He actually played 31 minutes the last game. He's been playing really well. A guy that can stuff the stat sheet. I'm fine with him if he starts again at the center position. Tomas Satoransky, if he continues to start at the point guard, I think it's a pretty good value. 31, 34 minutes the last game. So yeah, I like Sato if he starts again. But that's probably it for Chicago. Moving on to the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic is one of my favorite plays at the top. Absolutely love the matchup here against the Bulls as long as the game stays competitive. Really, really like Jokic. Murray, MPJ are both decent plays for tournaments, but neither are priorities. I know MPJ had a big game last game. Quietly he's been actually playing pretty solid, so I do have some interest in him for tournaments. Will Barton continues to get it done too. He continues to play mid-30s minutes, even in a blowout in 33 minutes, more over 33 fantasy points. The price really isn't moving, so yeah, some interest in Will Barton. And then that's probably it. I mean, Campozo, Dozier, if you think this game blows out, are guys maybe you can look to get different. Dallas, Portland, Luka at the top, I also think is one of the better spin-ups of the slate. Should play, close to 40 minutes, and a guy that has triple-double upside. So really do like Luka at the top. With no Dorian Finney-Smith, it was actually Tim Hardaway Jr. that started and played 37 minutes. If he starts again, I think he's a viable tournament play. Again, pretty reliant in the scoring, but if he's going to play close to 40 minutes, I do have some interest there. And then Kristaps Porzingis at 7'9" is the number 2 in offense and should play, 30 to 35 minutes. I think he's actually a decent play at that price for tournaments. Moving on to Portland, Damian Lillard. What is he at now? Because I know he started with 21 points in the first quarter. I'm curious to see where he's at right now, let's say. Okay, just 22 real life points. But it's looking like he's just going on that stretch where he is just taking over. So the 10.9K price does seem a little bit much with CJ back, but he just seems to be on another level right now. So I'm fine going to Dame for tournaments. But other than that, there's really nothing I like in Portland. Finally, Minnesota and Phoenix. So we just saw this game, or we're seeing this game going on tonight. Again, Karl-Anthony Towns, like the individual matchup for him. So I like him as a contrarian play. Anthony Edwards for tournaments as well. I think Rubio and Revenge Game Narrative is fine. Should play about 30 minutes. And then the Phoenix side, DeAndre Ayton was actually really popular tonight. I guess I kind of get it because he was 6.2K, but the minutes haven't been amazing for him. Curious to see what he finishes with tonight for minutes. Paul, Booker, both decent plays because of the matchup. Booker, if he's getting going, probably a little more upside. I would say Paul is probably a little bit safer. And then if you think Ayton continues to struggle, you can take a shot on Dario Saric for value. But that is it for the breakdown, guys. So if you have been enjoying the content so far, I would really appreciate if you hit a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos when I go live. Again, I will be doing a YouTube live stream tomorrow. Make sure to check it out, guys. Thanks again. Have a great night, and I will see you all tomorrow.